the year 2018. It's January 2nd at 7:03 p.m. We'll have a short business meeting tonight. The first item of business is to establish the quorum. Councilmember Chris Fall is not able to be with us tonight. All others are present. And then our second item of business is appointing our clerk of council, Deborah Walker, and we need a motion to do so. Councilmember Butler.
Thank you, President Isley. I would like to make a motion to appoint Ms. Debbie Walker as our clerk. Second.
We have a motion and second for appointment of the clerk of council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. We now have the selection of President Pro Tem and Acting Pro Tem. For President Pro Tem, I would entertain a motion for appointing Mr. Kent Butler as the President Pro Tem of Council.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and second for the selection of the President Pro Tem, Councilmember Kent Butler. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, I don't think. Thank you. And now I'd like to have a motion for assignment of the acting pro tem, and that would be Councilmember Fall, I think, is our next senior member of council. So I entertain a motion for appointing her as acting pro tem.
So moved.
Second. All right. We have a motion and second. Thank you very much. All those in favor for this appointment for acting pro tem signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And then we need a motion for designation of our law director, Lisa Eliason, as our parliamentarian.
I'd like.
Yes.
Thank you, President. I'd like to make a motion.
Okay. And a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second for the designation of law director Eliason as our parliamentarian. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Sounds unanimous again. For communications, I would like to let the public know that council members will be having an orientation session this Saturday at 9 o'clock at the Ohio University Inn. And we will be hearing information from our auditor, our law director, our mayor, and our city planner. And that'll be at 9 o'clock at the Ohio University Inn, just so the public is aware of that. Do any other council members have communications? Okay. We'll move on to communications from other elected officials. Law Director Eliason.
I do have my annual report that I would like to present. Okay. And I believe it's on the drive, so if you didn't get a copy on your drive, I have a copy up here. This is the one duty that is outlined for me, or one of the duties that's outlined for me in the Ohio Revised Code, that every year I have to present an annual report to the Athens City Council and to the administration. First, I would like to explain that the position of law director is classified by Athens City Council as a part-time position, and I'm required by law to be in the office 30 hours per week. I'm responsible for overseeing the law department and for prosecutions. We have 3 full-time city prosecutors. Tracy Meek is our chief city prosecutor. Matt Ward is one of the city prosecutors, and Jessica Branner. Jessie Branner is our 3rd city prosecutor. They prosecute offenses that occur in the city of Athens, and by way of a contract, misdemeanor offenses that occur in the county and the unincorporated areas. And we prosecute those cases in Athens County Municipal Court. Today I talked with the clerk, Tanya Dye, and she gave me the number of cases that were criminal and traffic last year in Athens County Municipal Court, and that number was 10,844. So of that number, approximately 3/4 of the criminal cases are disposed of without an attorney or perhaps by a prosecutor in another jurisdiction. For instance, we would prosecute the city of Athens, we prosecute any of the unincorporated areas of the county, but we would not be the prosecutor for Chansey or for Nelsonville, the villages, we don't prosecute for those. So some of those 10,844 cases are prosecuted by other prosecutors. The majority of them plead at arraignment, post a bond, or, as I said, are prosecuted by the other jurisdictions. So our 3 city prosecutors have direct involvement with about 25% of those 10,844 cases, and they have involvement from the very beginning of the case after the arraignment session until the case is completed. So the law director then, in addition to supervising the 3 prosecutors, also is responsible for representing the city in legal proceedings and approves contracts and bonds involving the city of Athens. I also keep you apprised of litigation that the city is involved in, and oftentimes they may do that through an executive session, which is permitted by law. I also may serve on the contract negotiating team, but that's a decision made by the mayor. Our 2017 budget for our office, which is we call the Office of Law Director and City Prosecutor, was $610,000, and of that we received $49,303 from Athens County for the prosecution of the misdemeanor offenses in the unincorporated areas of the county. So I told you that we do about 25% of the 10,000 cases, and that means we do close to 2,500 cases a year, the 3 prosecutors do. And if you look on your drive, you'll see, or if you'd like to see this on paper, we classify our misdemeanor offenses in 2 ways. We had last year 551 defendants, and we prosecuted those defendants, and those defendants appeared without an attorney. To give you an idea of some of them, you'll see on here, there were cases like criminal damaging, criminal mischief, trespass, disorderly conduct, driving under suspension, dog registration. That just gives you an idea of the wide variety of cases that we do. Failure to control, marijuana, paraphernalia, reckless operation, theft, underage consumption, and some miscellaneous cases. So there were 551 criminal defendants, and if you would add all these up underneath, it's a lot more than 551, because sometimes a defendant will come in with 2 or 3 charges. But I've tried to show you by listing them out here what kind of cases we prosecute through our office. And then there were 1,525 prosecutions of defendants with attorney representation. So we break them down without attorneys and then with attorneys. You'll see if you would add all those up, it comes out to be a lot more than 1,525, because again, defendants, oftentimes if somebody has a DUI, then they'll have maybe driving under suspension and maybe paraphernalia or marijuana charge. So these were just defendants that we prosecuted. But I wanted to give you an idea of the cases that we do. For instance, we did 58 assault cases last year. Criminal damaging, 28, 58 disorderly and persistent disorderly, 70 domestic violence cases. And I'm not going to read through all of them, but I just wanted to highlight some of the things that we prosecute in our office. 282 cases of operating motor vehicle under the influence, possession of drug paraphernalia, possession of marijuana. And I thought it would be interesting to note on that we did 137 cases of possession of marijuana, and of those, we amended 96 of them to disorderly conduct. So there were a few that maybe were second offenders. Telecommunications harassment. Sometimes, last year we had 1 vehicular manslaughter case. That was second-degree misdemeanor, and that's a situation where somebody has a minor misdemeanor traffic offense and they cause someone's death. Maybe they run a stop sign or something like that happens, and vehicular manslaughter is a second-degree misdemeanor. Underage consumption, we did 146 of those, and quite a few of those cases go into diversion, but we had 146 of those. And those, again, that total was 1,525 defendants. We had a carryover about 2,000, and total prosecutions of defendants last year was 2,276. So Some of the additional services the prosecutors provide is we write letters to victims. That's required by law. And we write bad check letters. We meaning the secretaries usually do them for the prosecutors. We review applications for sealing of records. The attorneys went to court last year about 1,800 times. That's an approximation. The three prosecutors, the attorneys in the office, those attorneys, they usually go to court every morning. They may have to go 2 or 3 times in the morning. They may have to go in the afternoon, so I was counting court appearances. We had 125 motion hearings. 7 cases were appealed. We wrote letters on behalf of code enforcement and collected restitution. We did 1 small claims case, and our prosecutors provide legal advice to law enforcement any time of the day or night. Their numbers are on file with law enforcement, and if there's a situation that needs to be attended to, a question that law enforcement may have, then the prosecutor or perhaps even I will be called to answer the question by law enforcement. So those are the duties of the prosecutors. So the duties of the law director, in addition to supervising, and I do discuss cases with the prosecutors to find out what's happening in the municipal court with their cases. In addition to supervising, I meet with them to discuss resolutions. Last year I wrote 2 formal legal opinions, provided legal advice to elected officials, department heads and boards, attended council meetings and special sessions, attended executive sessions, reviewed ordinances prior to council meetings, reviewed resolutions prior to council meetings, administered oaths, reviewed contracts and bonds, and drafted a lease for Canaanville land, as I think most of you remember that. We leased it, or leasing it. Attended meetings, compiled public records requests, met with outside counsel, just discussing legal matters involving the city. I assisted city engineer Andy Stone with the Ice Miller Law Firm in redrafting our Title 35, and that will be something that's coming up for council in January, perhaps February actually, but Andy Stone's been working on that. We've been working very carefully with Ice Miller on that. That's a law firm. Consulted in the legal challenge of Senate Bill 331. That was the small cell lawsuit, along with Ice Miller, and I consulted in the legal challenge of House Bill 49, centralized business tax lawsuit with Frost Brown Todd Law Firm. Also, this is interesting in that in addition to being the law director for the City of Athens, by law, I'm also the attorney for the Athens City School District. I'm not involved much with the school district except in cases where they want to file a counter complaint as to the valuation of property. So I usually handle those for them, and I did that last year. Civil litigation. We had 3 cases, civil cases pending at the beginning of 2017. 1 new case was filed in 2017, 2 cases completed. So at the end of 2017, we had 2 cases. We have 2 civil cases that are pending. So that is my report of the business of the Office of the Law Director, and I would be glad to take any questions from council or the administration. Any questions?
Thank you for a very thorough report.
You're
It sounds
welcome.
like your office is busy.
We are busy. Do you have a question, Mr. McGee?
I would just like to say, as someone who knows your office from the other side of the bench, often you do an excellent job and you have fantastic personnel as prosecutors, and I praise you all highly. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Auditor Hecht, did you have a report that you wanted to share with us?
I'm happy to go next because I want to add something to Lisa's report and what they do for our office. Her chief prosecutor, Tracy Meek, works very closely with my income tax administrator, Tina, who you all know and hear about, in sending letters to delinquent taxpayers and then filing legal action against them when they don't pay. It's luckily not too many people, but you'd be surprised how many people will ignore letters from my office. And it's just been a a cooperation that we haven't always had with the law director's office, and it's worked out really well and been very, very helpful to us working with Lisa's staff, and we appreciate that. So my report for tonight is just going to be very quick, I hope. Some of you won't know about this, but we've been talking about a credit card policy because the state is changing its laws about that. We're still doing that just before Christmas. We have a draft policy, which I will probably send out pretty soon. The Senate has passed that version, but it still has to go to the House. There might be some minor changes. I don't think the changes will affect the items that we have to put in a policy, but it should be passed sometime this year. So I believe I'm on the schedule to talk to the mayor and service safety director and finance chair later this week about that, and then we'll talk about it at council after that. So just let you know, I had hoped to have that before you sooner, but it will come. It will come. And just giving a rough estimate, because I've had quite a few questions from reporters about the budget and the carryover. It's an estimate until we close out our year. But right now, I would guess around 1.1 million in the general fund, which is the one we always look at and worry about. Last year, it was about 1.45, so it's I'm thinking about $300,000 less. And it sounds like a lot of money. Our general fund budget's about 15 million out of 44 million for the entire city. However, that carryover is important in all funds to pay bills and especially payroll in January before some of the revenue has come in. So just to put it in perspective, our payroll costs for January of 2017, for just that month, in the general fund, were $854,000. Now keep in mind the general fund has a lot of, it's all our police and fire and a lot of departments, but that's how much money we will need before the end of January just to make payroll. So I think I forwarded this to everyone. I hope I did. The financial indicators from the state auditor's office. If not, I should do that, and I'll try to send it to the new people. But it's a report that looks like this with the red, green, and yellow. And they rate us on 17 items, and we still have 3 red ones. It's green, yellow, and red. Red being critical and yellow cautionary, and then the green is positive. So we have 3 critical outlook indicators on here, and this has been in our discussion, and I know President Nisley is aware of this, but they all relate to our general fund balance and our expenditures, and so it's something we really need to work at this year, because one of these was yellow last year and it's red this year, and so just something to keep in mind. I'll probably talk more about that as we go along. And my final thing is, since I will be there Saturday for the retreat, if there's anything that you would like to know more about, you want me to talk about in particular, explain in more detail, or something I don't usually talk about, if you can recall 2 years ago when we did this, but feel free to email me and let me know, and I'll be happy to try to get that information out there, because we just don't do that very often. It'd be nice to start the year with whatever information you think you need. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the information. I do have one question, just a quick one for you, about the delinquent taxes.
Yes.
And that previously we had contracted with a group, and is that service available?
It's available.
Is it something that we would want to be considering in consultation with you?
We might need to do that. Actually, Tina just brought me a report today that shows, carryovers and the refunds and things like that. We haven't done it for at least 2 years, and we might want to consider doing that again. It really helps us a lot. Our tax department is 2 people, and we bring the law director's office in. Clearly, they're very busy with other matters that they're responsible for, when we just can't get a response from people. And sometimes it's a substantial amount of money. We don't go to the law director if they owe us $50 or $100, but In reality, we are required. It is something the state auditors ask us about. They want to look at our tickler file, which is where we show letters that we have sent, and we're required to follow up on those regularly. And it's an obligation that we have, is to collect all money is owed to us, but that includes income taxes. And as an Athens resident and taxpayer, I feel like everyone should pay their fair share. So I will talk to Tina about that, and we'll look at that again. The CCA is actually the city of Cleveland has a collection service that they can do on our behalf, and whatever they get, they keep a percentage. And as I said, we just don't even always have much luck getting a response. And so
Thank you. That'd be good to have an update on that.
yeah,
with
thank
your
you.
recommendations
Yeah,
on
it's
it.
probably it's time to look into that again.
Along that same line, with the CCA, if I'm not mistaken, we saw a large capture the first year, and then we started seeing kind of diminishing returns across time. Because if I'm not mistaken, it was 3 years they were contracted to look at 3 years of tax returns.
It was 2, I believe. But yes, once we find somebody who isn't paying taxes, and mostly they just don't realize that they move here, you realize we have a very transient community, and so once we let them know that they, taxes, then we create an account and we send them our forms and things like that, and so then they are in our books and paying moving forward, and and that's why I guess we thought we'd take a little break, because it did go down after that, but we did have a really nice bump. Altogether, we brought in about $300,000. We did an amnesty program to get people who didn't know and then realized it to do it voluntarily. And then we contracted, and we got another $200,000 that first year from working with the CCA, and they sent out letters themselves and things like that. So, we still have a lot of those people on our books moving forward, but.
A letter from our office is a pretty serious letter, in that we're threatening criminal charges against an individual. So that's usually what happens.
It really is very helpful. They usually don't ignore that, and they don't ignore it entirely. And once a warrant is issued, sometimes they'll come in, at the last minute and say, hey, what can I do? And, we work with people, we set up payment plans, and we just need them to come in. But I realize it's hard for some people, especially if they've let it go for quite a while. But, yeah, you would think a tax administrator's letterhead would kind of get their attention, but the law director's letterhead does get their attention. So a lot of times that's all it takes.
Good. Thank you. Mayor Patterson.
Let me get into housekeeping first, and then I'll get into some other feel-good announcements. Tomorrow, potholes being filled on East State Street, the bypass ramps, Washington and West State Street. Thursday, a water break hole. That was on Columbia, and West State Street. Trash delays by a day this week. We get back up to speed on things. And then the Christmas tree, free Christmas tree pickup, you just have to reach out to the city, calling 592-3343 to schedule a free pickup. If you have questions, you can always contact Engineering and Public Works at 593-7636. I have a couple welcomings, 2 new hires to the city, one who's been working for us for a while, and one who just accepted today. The one who's been working for us for a little while is our new HR coordinator under Rebecca Marsh. It's Amy Sturhar. So if you see her in the front area, please walk up and introduce yourself if you have the chance, and welcome her. She comes to us from the Athens News. She worked for APG Media of Ohio. She received her bachelor's degree from Ohio University in cultural anthropology and African American studies, but has HR background in some of her previous jobs. The second one will be our new Athens Community Center Child Care Program Specialist, Laura Sowers. Laura also graduated from Ohio University with a Bachelor's of Science in Education and a minor in Recreation. She taught for a while at Logan Elementary at pre-K second and third grades. And then she moved on to Chicago for a while, where she worked with the Park District of Oak Park in the Chicago area and other places. So she is moving back to Athens to her roots and will be taking that job. She's starting here, I believe, on the 15th or 16th of the month. So please reach out to her. We got a letter. This is one of those interesting letters where I really had to scratch my head and go, we applied for this grant. We received a letter from NOPEC for the Northern Ohio Public Energy Commission, of which I am a board member. And what it is, it's a program to where it's a rebate back to all of the aggregation customers in your municipality. And then it can be used for public energy efficiencies. It can be used for a number of energy projects. But it was $12,450 coming back as basically a rebate to the city of Athens. One of the things we're looking at using, because there's no strings attached to what it can be used for as long as it's energy related, is we're exploring the idea of putting fast charging stations at the new pool or at the community center, because it makes the most sense for a fast charge station. We've had this discussion with council in the past, but I want council to be aware of that. Again, it's a rebate grant back to the city of Athens through NOPEC. Poet Laureate, the request for proposals for people to apply to become the Poet Laureate, that deadline was extended to January 19th. People can apply at Arts West, which is located at 132 West State Street, or they can apply online at amac@ci.athens.oh.us. This would be the second round of a Poet Laureate for the city of Athens. It's a 2-year Poet Laureate. It's a 1 year with a renewable for a second year as the Poet Laureate for the city of Athens. So hopefully we get a large number of people apply for that. As you recall, our current Poet Laureate, or our outgoing Poet Laureate, is Allison Stein, who did a wonderful job creating as poems as our first Poet Laureate for the city. I may have brought this up in the past, so I apologize, council, but I just think this is so worth pushing out again, and that is that the folks at Lands and Buildings go around and empty the cigarette butt bins 2 or 3 times a week, and they weigh them every year. They store them in a 55-gallon trash drum down at the service garage, and then at the end of the year they weigh them and they ship them off to a company called TerraCycle. If you recall, 2016, we had 64 pounds that were collected, 64 pounds of cigarette butts that were collected. This year, for 2017, depending on how you look at it, I look at it as a positive. Some of you may think from a lung cancer's perspective it's a bad thing, but it went up to 70 pounds. But that's 70 pounds that are being, pulled out of what would have normally gone into the waste stream, or worse yet, into our surface water and through the storm system and into the Hocking River. So, think about it. Over the past couple of years, 134 pounds of cigarette butts. I don't know how many park benches that has created, because that's basically what they get turned back into, but good stuff. With us having the bins out there and having the opportunity to recycle. 2 last items. While council, you were away, but I'm sure you were not unaware that the city has entered into the Zero Waste Pledge. This is with Rural Action. And we took the pledge. It's to standardize for the city of Athens. Over the next 6 months, we aim to accomplish the following goals. We're going to standardize recycling access and storage and signage in the city for city employees and visitors in the city buildings. Improve internal communications about recycling practices through employee training. Create a citywide zero waste policy outlining the expectations for event organizers using city spaces. And finally, to put in place policies applying to all city buildings to promote zero waste and institutionalizing zero waste practices. So that's our pledge. We intend to stick to it. There's the nice little plaque that we received. I don't know if, Ryan, you can zoom in on that. But again, our effort to continue to do what is right for the world and who we leave the world to in the future. Finally, Ryan, I don't know if you can pan down below my dais here, but we received this, again, over the Christmas break period, the holiday break, and it's the plaque for the Soul Smart. Again, I've mentioned this to City Council in the past, that we received the bronze designation for Soul Smart, which is a designation that recognizes communities for taking bold steps to make it faster, easier, and cheaper to go solar residentially. So that is the last of my items for today, which is a lot.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions?
Busy holiday. Yeah.
It was a busy holiday.
Any questions of council members? Okay. We'll move on to announcements and other business. And just a comment that just as I'm very grateful to begin the new year, remembering past council members who served and created great traditions, and I'm really looking forward to our new council members and to those of us who are returning to have a good year. And part of the work that happens for us and that makes all of this, the workings of the city, possible are also our boards and commissions. So we have approximately 9 boards and other groups of people that help us with our records and help us move forward with environmental and sustainability issues, disability issues. So tonight we have appointments and some announcements to make. And the announcements are that Arian Smedley, who was serving out Jennifer Cochran, Councilmember Cochran's term on council, has now accepted an appointment to the Regional Planning Commission. And that Mayor Patterson is reappointing Nancy Bain to the Planning Commission. She's a former council member and has served the city for probably 30 plus years, so we thank her. And then Mr. Bill Walker has accepted a position for the Joanne Prisley's unexpired term on the Metropolitan Housing Authority. So we want to thank all those people in advance for their service on those. And then we have 3 motions that we will be making for appointments to other commissions where council is required to approve these. And the first one of these would be for the 2-year term for the Municipal Arts Commission, and I believe Councilmember Butler has that.
Thank you, President Isley. I believe council members should be in receipt of Ann Judy's resume and vita, so I would like to make a motion to appoint her to the Municipal Arts Commission. And I do believe the mayor also he has information regarding this as well.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion and second for the appointment of Ann Judy to the Municipal Arts Commission. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Then we have an appointment for the Board of Zoning Appeals, and one of these is to fill the part of resignation of Betty Hollow, who served us for many years on
26 years.
BZA. Yeah, so that is I think one of the most difficult jobs in the city. So I really thank her. And Councilmember Reisner will take care of those appointments.
Thank you, Madam President. We have 3 people here who, one is for a reappointment, one is for full membership, and the other is as the alternate. So I would like to make a motion that we appoint Lisa Carson for reappointment.
Second.
We'll probably make one, I think we can make one motion
Just a
for all
slate?
3 of these, a slate of them.
In addition, John Gutekans to full membership, and Jessica Kopowitz as the alternate.
Okay.
Second that.
So we have a motion and second for the appointments of these 3 persons to the Board of Zoning Appeals for the city. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then we have the Disabilities Commission, and that is a 3-year term. And I might mention that the Board of Zoning Appeals is also, I believe, a 3-year term. And then the Disabilities Commission is a 3-year term, and we have an opening that Council Member McGee will handle.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Ms. Christy Heisel, who is a photographer with the Athens Photography Project, I believe it is. And I believe she'd be a good fit for the Disability Commission.
Okay.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and second for the appointment of Christy Heisel to the Disabilities Commission. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that sounds unanimous. All right, and do we have other announcements? I know that we'll be having some committee meetings next week.
We will.
We will.
Yes, we will.
And so we'll need service safety and planning and transportation, I believe. I'm not sure if we need finance and personnel. Councilmember Reisner, do you know?
We will. Likely,
We will.
we'll need finance and personnel, and we'll need council as a whole.
And committee of the whole as well. Okay. A full slate. We may get home early tonight, but maybe not next week. Okay. Are there any other announcements? Okay. Yes. Mayor
I just want to
Patterson.
thank council for your recent appointments for the boards and commissions, and welcome the new council members to council.
Okay. All right.
Also want to, I'm sorry, one
go
last
ahead.
thing. Before we go, it's a selfish plug. I want to wish my daughters happy birthday.
Okay. All right. We always, in our regular business meetings, have an opportunity for citizens to speak on legislative items and city services not covered on the agenda. Is there anyone wanting to speak tonight? Okay. If not, I would entertain a motion for us to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next Monday night at 7 p.m. Thank you.